abomination.
Stupid hand.
It's no secret that this has been a pretty good year for gaming. With the release of Street Fighter 6, Armored Core, Baldur's Gate 3, and Starfield, gaming has been flourishing. Even video game movies have been tearing up at the box office. Super Mario Bros. Being number 2 this year has raised some eyebrows. So that's got me thinking, why not review a video game movie from my childhood? From one of my favorite franchises, in fact. Mortal Kombat. And with the upcoming release of the new game days away, now's as good a time as any, I guess. I even chose to upload this video on a Monday to keep with the Mortal Monday tradition that they started with the console release of the arcade ports back in the 90s. Well, why not? And let's take a bite out of Mortal Kombat. This movie is an adaptation of the first arcade cabinet, which of course was inspired by a 80s tournament movie called Bloodsport, starring Van Damme. There's some loose connections here and there, other than Van Damme wasn't meant to be in the Mortal Kombat game, but that kind of fell through. Probably for the better anyway. So it's an adaptation of an inspiration. It's not a bad idea considering the story for Mortal Kombat was regulated to a wall of text at the start of the screen, and character bios were played randomly when nobody was playing machines, so a competent writer can pretty much do whatever they want, having an empty sandbox to play in, as long as the characters felt faithful to their game incarnations. For those who haven't played the game or even watched anything related to this franchise, the story is every 50 years a special tournament is held against our world, which is designated Earthrealm, and another world called Outworld, which is warlike and led by a power-hungry Emperor Shao Kahn. If Outworld wins 10 consecutive tournaments, they can invade Earth and take over. The movie taking place during the 10th, Outworld have already won 9.
Fate of billions will depend upon you. Sorry.
No pressure. The representatives for both sides are Raden, played by Christopher Lambert, and Shang Tsung, played by cary-hiroyuki Takagawa. I hope I didn't butcher that. Recruiting fighters for each of their respective sides. You only get to see the Earthrealm recruitment though, which is Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, and Johnny Cage, the 3 heroes of the film. I gotta give it to Shang Tsung though. He does a better job of recruiting for Earthrealm than Raiden does. He kills Liu's brother at the beginning of the film and gets Liu on his trail. He then masquerades as Johnny's agent and teacher and invites him to the tournament personally, and then hires Sonya's mortal enemy, Kano, to fight for his side, which gets Sonya banging down his door. All Raiden does is hang out at the Shaolin Temple and recruit jobbers for Goro to kill off in a montage until it's time for the tournament to begin. A shame, since in the cabinet, Raiden was an active fighter. All he does here is make sure everyone plays by the rules, a glorified referee, if you will.
Your sideshow freaks attack my fighters. That is expressly forbidden before the tournament, as your emperor well knows.
But I am going to say, the casting is phenomenal in this film. Tagawa as Shang Tsung is pitch perfect. He's a suave, evil, soul-sucking monster that can make your skin crawl.
Your soul is mine. Fatality.
Hell, this Shang Tsung, if you ask any MK fan or regular player, this is the definitive adaptation of Shang Tsung. They will always point you to this movie when they say, hey, what's your favorite Shang Tsung? He's so iconic, in fact, that NetherRealm Games even got Takagawa to reprise his role as Shang Tsung in MK11. Christopher Lambert as Raiden, he does a decent job. He's not on the same level as Tagawa, but I contribute that to screen time. Most of the time he just spouts out exposition and one-liners from the side. But the dude can be intimidating when he wants to be.
I don't think so.
The three heroes, Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage, and Liu Kang, protagonists of the movie, they have their roles that they're allocated to. Johnny is the comedy, Liu is the straight man, and Sonya is the angry grumpy bear obsessed with revenge against Kano. They do a decent job playing off of each other, blending comedy and lore building along the way. It's nothing really to write home about, but it gets the job done.
I smell something. Bullshit.
If I had to knock one of them, though, it'd probably be Sonya. Her whole role is just getting revenge. That and Shang Tsung being a creep towards her.
What tournament?
You've been chosen, Sonya. Much to my delight.
When she fights Kano, that's pretty much all she is. She's just a spectator after that. She doesn't have any other fights, she just has the one. Sonya and Kano's fight is fairly decent too.
Fight. Sonya wins.
Ending when Sonya is asked to take a break.
Okay.
Now, Kano, his casting is something that really made history, and it actually changed Mortal Kombat. This dude is such a disgusting, opportunistic, over-the-top bastard, midway retconned the existing Kano character from a half-Japanese, half-American into Australian modeled after this performance. And it's still that way to this day in all the installments. Guess that's a compliment too? You're such a slime ball that you changed MK history. That's something. Johnny fares a bit better than Sonya though. However, he doesn't actually get a story arc. He's pretty much the same guy at the beginning as he is at the end. At the beginning of the movie, he's a little frustrated at not being taken seriously as a martial artist instead of just being a movie star, even being upset when the tabloids call him a fraud. He accepts the invitation solely to prove his mettle in the tournament, which he does twice against icons of the series, Goro and Scorpion. They're the most spectacle-driven fights in the film. The fight with Goro giving nods to both Mortal Kombat and Bloodsport. After his fights are done, he settles down into being Liu's sidekick, though, for the rest of the movie, spouting one-liners from the sideline with Sonya.
Nice dress.
Then you have Liu Kang, who is arguably the main character of the story. It follows him from start to finish, opening with the death of his brother and ending when he defeats Shang Tsung. And, just a little side tangent, it's kind of funny how he's notified about his brother. Look at this. It's just a letter from Western Union. Brother dead. Come home, Grandpa. No, it saddens me to say, or bad news, lose, something bad happened. Nah, just subtle. Brother dead. Get your ass home.
Sorry.
Since Liu Kang is the protagonist, he gets the most fights, squaring off against series icons like Subzero, Reptile, and of course Shang Tsung. There's some jobber he beats up. I don't know who he is. He's just credited as Fighting Monk. The fight's okay, but he doesn't exist anywhere except in this movie. I don't count the katana fight because that wasn't a fight. That was just Katana giving Liu pointers on the next fight. That was it. It doesn't even end with a winner. It's just a draw. And the woman playing Katana. Lady's bland, like really bland. Her role is more or less just Navi from Ocarina of Time, pointing Liu Kang in the right direction and giving him vague hints on how to win the next fight. Not really memorable. Listen. It makes sense since she wasn't really in the first cabinet, she was introduced in the second one, but what about the rest of the cast, you say? The ones that everybody's waiting for, Scorpion and Subzero. Well, they're decent adaptations. Their costumes are just fucking dope. Their intro is pretty cool too.
Got that radio handy?
Move aside.
There are a few changes though. Sub-Zero remains mostly untouched, but for some stupid reason they gave Scorpion this eel-like thing instead of his traditional rope and kunai. Plus, both of them are under Shang Tsung's control, so two of the biggest rivals in MK history don't get to square off. It was a pity back then, it still kinda is. The final two characters are actually a good example of the practical effects versus the CG argument. In fact, I know several people in circles that use this movie for this argument. Goro, for example, is a perfect example of practical effects. He still looks good as he did back then. He's a little slower than what I remember, but it's still impressive. And from what I was able to dig up, Goro was an amalgamation of 3 different effects styles: puppetry, animatronics, and a dude in a suit. He was also voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, the guy who voiced Jamba and Lilo and Stitch.
Abomination.
Considering all this hard work it took to make Goro, it was actually a pretty damn good attempt. The original Goro in the arcade cabinet was more or less just stop motion, and by the time they got done with it, the whole Goro model just fell apart. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, Reptile. The first half of the movie, he looks absolutely terrible. Look at this shit. I mean, yeah, I know it's a product of the time, but that's the point. CG ages like milk. With the advancement of computers and rendering technology, something like Goro that exists inside the film with the actors will be captured in the same time capsule with the actors, so they will age about the same way. Where the CG just sticks out like a sore thumb. As you get used to seeing newer CG technologies and stuff like that, the older is just going to fade and age terribly. But it's not all lost. Liu Kang does throw him in a statue that transforms him into the ninja we're all used to seeing. Somehow, I think that little bit of lore was left out of the games. And then there's the fights. For the most part, they're okay. Nobody's overusing the sweep button, that's for damn sure. Most of the actors have backgrounds in martial arts, so it works. Sometimes the camera angles are questionable, like during the Subzero and Reptile fight. You can barely see what's going on in some spots. But for the most part, they do work. Don't go in expecting Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan level choreography, and you'll be good. But it does pay me to say the thing that Mortal Kombat is famous for, the iconic finishers called fatalities that everyone associates with this franchise, are mostly absent. Yeah, no spine rips, head explosions, heart rips, or anything like that. There is an attempt at fatalities, like Sub-Zero does freeze some random dude during the exhibition just to show what Sub-Zero can do. Scorpion does take his mask off to try to fry Johnny, but he doesn't actually roast anybody with it. It's just a kind of like a special attack, and that's it. And Shang Tsung, minor spoiler, Shang Tsung dies in the iconic way of falling in a spike pit. No blood or anything, but hey, it's there. Nice references to the game, but the film is mostly bloodless. Even though this did kind of piss me off at the time, it makes sense nowadays. Since the largest audience for this movie during the time was teens and preteens who played the arcade cabinet back in the old arcades and who got the home ports on Genesis and Super Nintendo. Going all in on an R rating would have just stopped this movie dead in its tracks. Even without the blood, the movie does a fair job at what it sets out to do, even affecting the franchise as a whole going forward, and for the better in my opinion. On IMDb, the rating sits at a mid-range, but most MK fans will either like or love this movie for the heart that went into it, and it's a permanent staple of their childhoods, just like it is mine. So if you haven't guessed, yeah, I recommend this movie. It's a dumb popcorn flick that knows what it is and has an idea of what it's trying to do. It's trying to bring joy to Mortal Kombat fans and give newcomers a nice jumping on point. So if you can find it, give it a watch. Or if you already own it, go give it a watch again. It's worth it. That was actually pretty fun. Maybe I should tackle the next one. Oh, definitely. Well, that's all for right now, y'all. Remember to like, comment, or subscribe. Have a good one.